The first thing he does is keep his eyes open. They are already open, fixed upward, but he makes a small effort not to let them close again. Above him, the ceiling hangs low and uneven. The canvas sags slightly between wooden supports, catching the light in shallow folds. He blinks once, slowly, and the shape stays the same when his eyes open again. That tells him he is awake. He shifts his head a fraction to the left, then stops. The movement feels larger than it is. The ceiling follows him, staying overhead, still unfamiliar. This is not a place he recognizes. He lets his head rest again, facing straight up, and exhales through his nose. The air smells sharp and clean in a way that does not belong outdoors. The smell settles in his throat when he breathes. For a while, he listens. Sound has returned, but it comes without urgency. Somewhere nearby, a man clears his throat. Farther off, there is a low murmur, a voice speaking and then pausing. He does not turn toward it. The sounds drift across the space and fade on their own. Nothing in them asks for his attention. He keeps his hands still at his sides. Light filters in from somewhere he cannot see. It is dim, steady, without flicker. It presses gently against the canvas above him, enough to show the seams and the darkened edges where the material bends. He studies one stain, letting his eyes trace its outline. It looks like nothing in particular. After a moment, he stops looking at it, then finds himself looking again. His body does not ask much of him. He notices that first. His legs are heavy, stretched out beneath a blanket he has not examined. His arms rest where they were placed. There is no instinct to rise, no need to check his surroundings. He swallows once, feeling the motion move down his throat, and then becomes aware of how still everything else is. The stillness feels deliberate, as if it has been arranged for him. A thought surfaces. How long has he been here? But it does not stay. He lets it pass without answering it. Time does not seem arranged in pieces anymore. There is only the ceiling, the sound, the smell. He breathes in, pauses, breathes out. The pause lasts a little longer than the breaths on either side. Somewhere to his right, fabric shifts. A mattress creaks softly. The sound stops, replaced by quiet again. He does not move his eyes. He notices the temperature now, cool air along his cheek, warmer under the blanket. The contrast makes him aware of his skin. He presses his tongue lightly against the back of his teeth, then relaxes his jaw. The quiet feels heavier than what came before it. It settles on him without pressure, but it stays. His thoughts drift toward what has ended, then stop short. There is no clear edge between before and now. He tightens his fingers once, a small test, and then lets them loosen. The ceiling does not change. The sounds continue at their own pace. He inhales again, catching the faint antiseptic smell more clearly this time. It reminds him that someone has been here already doing something necessary. The reminder does not bring comfort. It simply places him where he is. He blinks, slower now, and when his eyes open, the canvas still hangs above him, patient and unmoving. For several breaths, nothing else happens. The space holds its shape. He remains on the cot, looking up, letting the quiet sit where the noise used to be. He notices the weight. Before he notices anything else, the blanket presses down across his legs and waist, heavier than it looks. He does not lift it. He only feels where it rests, how it holds him in place. His heels sink into the cot, and he lets them stay there. The fabric beneath him is rough, warm from his body. He draws in a breath and feels how slowly it comes. The air moves into his chest in a careful way, as if it has to pass through something narrow. He waits at the top of the breath without meaning to, then lets it out. The release takes longer than expected. When the breath is gone, he stays empty for a moment before the next one begins. His arms feel distant, as if they belong to someone else lying nearby. He shifts one hand just enough to feel the blanket slide against his knuckles. The movement costs more than he thought it would. He stops there. There is no reason to continue. His fingers curl back into rest, and the blanket settles again. Pain is present, but it does not announce itself. It sits low and even, spread across his body without a sharp edge. The ache is dull, wide, and familiar already. Fatigue covers it, the way dust settles over everything else. He does not try to sort one from the other. He lets them exist together. Another breath rises and falls. He follows it this time, feeling his chest lift under the fabric and sink back down. The rhythm is slow, unforced. Each breath feels earned, not strained, but deliberate, as if his body is choosing to keep going, one small motion at a time. He does not hurry it. A thought passes through him. He could try to move more, but it fades before it finishes forming. There is no urgency attached to it. The idea drifts away, leaving behind the weight, the breathing, the stillness. He swallows once and feels the motion travel downward, then disappear. The cot creaks faintly as he shifts his shoulders a fraction, searching for a more comfortable position and finding none. He stops adjusting. The position he is in will have to do. Rest feels necessary, in a way. Movement does not. He accepts that without argument. His breathing continues, slow and steady, rising and falling beneath the blanket. The pressure remains constant and grounding. He lets his body stay where it is, heavy and unmoving, giving up any need to test what it can still do. He hears voices before he looks for them. They move through the space at an even pace, rising slightly, then lowering again. None of them say his name. He turns his head just enough to register the direction of the sound, then lets it settle. The voices pass, leaving behind the faint hum of the room. Footsteps follow. Boots strike hard ground, not quickly, not in sequence that suggests urgency. The sound is measured, routine. He listens to the distance between each step, the way they slow near him and then continue on. He does not lift his head to see who it is. The steps fade without stopping. A cough breaks the quiet. It comes from somewhere nearby, rough at first, then softer. A groan follows it, brief and low, and then nothing. The silence returns on its own. He does not shift toward the sound. His hands remain still, resting where they were. Metal clicks lightly against metal. The sound is small, precise, like something being set down and picked up again. It repeats once, then stops. He notices the rhythm of it more than the object itself. The noise does not ask anything of him. He lets his breathing continue at the same pace. He lies still and listens as the room carries on around him. The sounds exist without direction. They do not build. They do not signal a next step. He keeps his eyes open, fixed on the space above him, and allows the noises to pass through his awareness, without holding on to any of them. Another set of footsteps crosses farther away. These are lighter, almost careful. They slow, pause, then move again. He presses his shoulder slightly into the cot, feeling the fabric tighten beneath him. The movement is small, contained, and then finished. A voice speaks close by, low and steady, then stops mid-sentence. The pause stretches, then the voice resumes at the same level. He does not follow the words. He notices instead the tone, the evenness. The sound feels controlled, held in place. He exhales and listens to the air leave his chest. The room does not respond. Nothing changes when he breathes out. The sounds continue on their own schedule, indifferent to his presence. He accepts that and remains still, letting the distance between himself and the world hold. For a moment, everything quiets again. Then a faint clink returns, followed by footsteps moving away. He does not track them this time. His attention loosens and the sounds blur together, steady and contained. He becomes aware of the others without looking at them. The awareness comes through sound first, breathing close by, not loud, not strained, just present. One breath draws in slowly. Another lets go with a faint rasp. He keeps his eyes where they are and listens, letting the rhythm register without counting it. The air feels still. It sits low, unmoving, as if it has already settled into every corner. He shifts his shoulders slightly against the cot, and the fabric beneath him answers with a quiet scrape. Somewhere nearby, another piece of fabric moves in response. A blanket adjusted, a sleeve brushed. The sounds are brief and careful, as if no one wants to disturb what little balance exists. He knows there are men on either side of him. He does not see their faces. He does not know their names. The distance between the cots is small, but it feels exact, measured. Close enough to hear breathing, far enough to remain alone. He keeps his hands still, resting them where they were left. A breath nearby catches, then smooths out again. He notices it, and then lets it go. Pain is present in the room, but it does not travel. Each man keeps his own. There is no exchange, no outward sign asking for recognition. The silence between the cots holds. He swallows once, the sound small inside his throat. The movement reminds him of his body, of its outline beneath the blanket. He presses his heels lightly into the cot and feels the pressure push back. The contact grounds him, keeps his attention from drifting too far outward. Another blanket shifts, slower this time. The fabric whispers against itself, and then becomes still. No one speaks. The absence of voices feels deliberate, respected. Words would require energy. They would also require an opening. No one makes one. He listens again to the breathing, noticing how it does not match his own. Different speeds, different pauses. Each rhythm holds its place. He does not try to align himself with them. He lets his breath remain as it is, steady and contained. The air carries a faint warmth now, shaped by bodies resting close together. It does not comfort him, but it confirms presence. Lives paused, not ended, not resumed, just held. He senses this without needing to define it. His fingers curl once, then relax. The small motion feels enough. He does not reach out. There is nothing to touch that would change anything. The distance remains intact and necessary. For a long moment, nothing moves at all. Breathing continues. Fabric stays quiet. The air remains still. He lies among the others, aware of them without crossing into them, together but separate, held in the same quiet space. The light does not change. It stays where it is, dim and even, pressing gently against the canvas above him. He watches it without expecting it to move. Shadows sit in the same places they were before, thin and unmoving along the seams. He blinks once, then again, and nothing shifts. The light offers no hint of time. He listens for something that might mark a moment passing. A call, a change in tone. Nothing comes. The sounds that remain repeat themselves without pattern. A distant cough returns, then fades. Footsteps pass once, then do not come back. The repetition feels loose, unmeasured. He lets his attention drift with it. He tries, briefly, to place himself in the day. Morning or night, it does not hold. The thought slips away as soon as it appears. He exhales slowly and feels the air move out of him, then waits for the next breath to arrive on its own. When it does, he follows it, noticing the rise and fall beneath the blanket. The cot supports him without change. He presses his shoulder slightly into the fabric and then relaxes. The pressure remains the same. Nothing responds to the movement. The stillness feels complete, as if it has filled the space already and has nowhere else to go. He listens again to the ambient sounds, the low murmur that seems always present but never close. It could be conversation. It could be movement. He does not separate it. The sound blends into the room, part of its shape. He lets his eyes rest open, unfocused, not fixed on any one point. Another breath passes, then another. He does not count them. Counting would suggest an end. Instead, he lets them come and go, each one unremarkable. The time between them feels wide, stretched thin, like something pulled too far but not yet broken. He becomes aware that nothing is being asked of him. No instruction arrives. No voice cuts through the space to divide the moment into before and after. Waiting does not feel like a pause between actions. It feels like the action itself. He accepts it without adjusting his position. The light remains unchanged. The shadows do not move. He shifts his jaw once, feeling a faint stiffness, then lets it rest. The small movement passes without consequence. The room continues as it was. He notices the quiet confusion, not as a problem, but as a condition. It sits with him, steady and contained. He does not try to resolve it. He lies still, breathing, listening, letting the minutes stretch without shape or direction. And then, without any announcement, the next minutes arrive. The shaking is gone. He notices this when he presses his fingertips lightly against the blanket and feels no tremor answering back. His hands stay where they are, steady enough to feel the fabric's weave. He waits, half expecting the movement to return, but it does not. The stillness holds. He becomes aware of his pulse next. It moves at a measured pace, firm but no longer fast. He shifts his wrist slightly against the cot, feeling the contact point change, and senses the rhythm continue without effort. The beat does not demand attention. It simply keeps going. He lets his arm rest again. Cool air touches his face now more clearly than before. His skin feels it along his cheek and forehead, a thin layer of chill that wasn't there earlier. Beneath the blanket, warmth stays trapped. The contrast draws his awareness back into his body. He inhales and feels the air pass in, cooler than his breath when it leaves. For a moment, he listens for any internal vibration, any lingering rush beneath the surface. There is none. His chest rises and falls without urgency. The absence itself stands out. He notices how quiet his body has become, how it no longer hums or pulls at itself. Thoughts begin to slow. One appears, unfinished, then pauses. He recognizes it as a thought, not a reaction. That recognition feels new. He shifts his head slightly on the thin pillow, adjusting to the firmness beneath his neck, and lets the thought drift away without following it. Another breath comes, deeper this time. He feels his ribs expand, then settle. The motion feels deliberate but not forced. He does not push it. He lets the breath complete itself and notices the space afterward, the brief moment when nothing moves. His legs feel solid now, present in a way they were not earlier. Heavy, yes, but real. He presses his heels down lightly and feels the cot answer. The contact reassures him of shape and weight. He releases the pressure and remains still. The calm that surrounds him does not soften anything. It does not ease the ache or bring relief. It simply clears the noise away. In that clearing, he becomes aware of how exposed he feels. There is no rush to cover it. The feeling sits quietly, close to the surface. He swallows once, slowly, and feels the motion travel downward. The act draws his attention back into himself again. His jaw relaxes afterward, and his mouth stays slightly open as he breathes out. The room does not change in response. He lies there, aware of his pulse, the coolness on his skin, the weight of his body held in place. The shock has passed, leaving behind a calm that does not settle into comfort. He remains with it, attentive and still. The paper is already there when he notices it. It rests against his side, slightly bent, its edge rough against the skin of his forearm. He shifts his elbow a little to make room, and the paper scrapes softly against the cot. The sound is small but distinct. He looks down at it, then back up, then down again. His mother comes to mind without effort. The thought arrives fully formed, without a path leading to it. He does not summon her. She is simply there. He tightens his fingers once, then reaches for the pencil lying beside the paper. It feels heavier than he expects when he lifts it. The wood warm from being held earlier by someone else, or perhaps just from the room. He rests the pencil against the paper without moving it. His hand hovers there, uncertain but steady enough. The paper smells faintly of pulp and dust. He notices the texture beneath his fingertips, the way it resists slightly when he presses down. His grip tightens, then loosens, adjusting to the balance of the pencil. Words begin forming before he decides to let them. They come quietly, lining up in his mind without asking permission. He does not stop them. He lowers the pencil and makes the first mark. The sound of graphite against paper is soft, controlled. His hand trembles just enough for him to notice it, then steadies as the line continues. He pauses after the first few words, lifting the pencil and holding it above the page. The pause is not hesitation. It is a brief check, a moment to breathe. He exhales through his nose and feels the air move out, then back in. The pencil touches the paper again. Writing feels necessary in a way few things do now. It does not feel like thinking or remembering. It feels closer to breathing. His hand moves slowly. Each word placed carefully, not for effect, but because that is how his hand moves. He does not rush it. The paper shifts slightly as his wrist drags across it. He adjusts the angle, pulling the page closer to his body. The movement brings the paper into clearer light. He can see the grain now, the unevenness where the pencil darkens more deeply. He traces another line of words, then stops again. His focus is narrow. It holds only the pencil, the paper, and the steady motion between them. Other sounds in the room recede, not because they stop, but because they are no longer needed. His breathing stays slow, matching the pace of his hand. He is aware, dimly, that writing exposes something. The awareness does not interrupt him. It sits alongside the motion, present but contained. He swallows once, feeling his throat tighten briefly, then relax. The pencil remains poised in his fingers. He adds another line. The tremor returns, faint but manageable. He presses a little harder, anchoring the pencil more firmly to the page. The pressure steadies his hand. The words continue, simple and direct, without decoration. When he reaches the end of the line, he lifts the pencil and rests it lightly against the paper. His hand remains there, not ready to let go yet. The act of writing has taken hold. It is something he can still do. And then, without any announcement, the next minutes arrive. The pencil scratches lightly as he resumes, the sound thin and steady. He writes a few words, then stops. The point rests on the paper, darkening the spot beneath it while he waits. His hand does not lift right away. He feels the weight of it, the slight pull in his wrist, the way his fingers want to tighten and move on out of habit. A familiar pattern presents itself. He recognizes it without naming it. The tendency to sound solid, to arrange sentences so they reassure. The thought of doing that now feels heavy. He shifts his grip on the pencil, rolling it once between his fingers, and the movement breaks the pause. He exhales slowly and lets the pencil move again. The next words come out plainer, shorter. He does not stop to improve them. The scratching sound continues, then falters as he pauses between phrases. Each pause stretches a little longer than the last. He stares at the line he has just written, then moves past it without changing anything. His hand moves slowly across the page, not from caution but from restraint. He resists the urge to adjust the tone. The paper slides slightly as his wrist advances. He pulls it back toward himself, keeping it close, keeping the work contained within reach. Another pause. He lifts the pencil and holds it in the air. His fingers ache faintly, a dull reminder of effort. He flexes them once, then settles them back into position. He does not correct the thought that has formed. He allows it to remain as it is, unfinished but honest. The pencil returns to the page. The scratching resumes, uneven now, marked by small hesitations. He lets the hesitation stay. The words are not arranged for effect. They are placed where they land. He writes through the spaces between them, accepting the gaps. The habit of performing presses in again, quieter this time. He feels it in the way his hand wants to speed up, smooth things over. He slows instead. The motion becomes deliberate, almost careful. Each letter takes its time. He swallows and feels a brief tightness in his throat. The sensation passes, leaving behind a faint warmth. He does not look up. His attention stays with the page, the pencil, the slow forward motion of his hand. The room remains present but distant. The letter continues without polish. He does not read back over what he has written. He trusts the direction it is taking. The scratching sound softens as his pressure eases, then grows darker again when his grip tightens. The rhythm is uneven, but it holds. When he reaches the end of another line, he pauses again. This time the pause feels settled. He rests the pencil against the paper, not ready to set it down. The words on the page remain as they are. He does not add reassurance. He lets the truth stand, unguarded and intact. The words appear on the page and stay there. He watches them darken the paper as they settle, the line growing heavier where he pauses. He does not rush past them. He keeps his hand still, fingers resting against the edge of the page, as if giving the sentence time to finish arriving. He reads the phrase once, then again, quietly, without moving his lips. It sounds the way the moment feels. He does not soften it. He does not look for another way to say it. The paper holds the words without judgment, the surface slightly rough beneath his fingertips. His breathing stops for a brief moment while he looks at the line. The pause is unplanned. He notices it only when his chest begins to tighten and he lets the air go. The breath leaves him slowly, and with it goes the urge to adjust what he has written. Faith enters the line without explanation. He does not define it. He does not test it. The word sits there, simple and exposed, carrying more weight than he wants to examine. He rests his hand, flat against the page, feeling the faint impression left by the writing. He sits in the stillness that follows. No sound breaks it. The room does not respond. His shoulders ease downward a fraction, and he lets them stay there. The sentence remains unchanged, steady in its place. He traces the edge of the paper with his thumb, then stops. The contact grounds him. The words feel complete enough. He does not add anything to support them. He does not pull them back. The sense of strain lingers, quiet and unresolved. He feels it in the way his jaw stays set, in the way his hand does not move on right away. Faith, here, is something he is holding, without grip, careful not to drop it, careful not to squeeze it into shape. After a moment, he draws in another breath. The air moves easily now. The stillness remains unbroken. The page stays where it is, the words dark against it, saying only what they say. His hands rest on the paper without purpose now. The pencil lies across the page at an angle, not rolling, not being used. He does not pick it up. His fingers remain open, loose, as if holding nothing at all. The weight of his hands feels real, settled, but not steady in any way that suggests control. Faith does not change that. It does not firm his grip or smooth the slight tension in his wrist. He notices this plainly. The thought arrives, pauses, and stays. His hands remain as they are. He presses his palms lightly against the paper, then eases off again, feeling the texture beneath his skin. The space around him remains unchanged. The light does not shift. The ceiling above him keeps its shape. No one enters. No one calls out. The surroundings offer no response, no confirmation. He listens to the soft ambient noise, the low presence of the room continuing on without him. A sound drifts in and fades. He does not track it. His attention stays close, contained within the small circle of his body and the page in front of him. Faith does not clarify anything. It does not explain what has happened or what will follow. It does not point forward. He notices that it keeps him from slipping away entirely. That is all. He shifts his fingers slightly, one at a time, testing the motion. Each finger answers back, slow but responsive. The movement feels ordinary. He lets his hand settle again. There is no sense of certainty attached to the thought of belief. It does not arrive with confidence. It does not carry reassurance. It exists quietly, without instruction. He accepts that without trying to change it. His breathing remains slow, unforced. He listens to the room again. The same soft sounds return, steady and distant. Nothing builds, nothing resolves. The moment stretches without direction. Faith does not fill the space. It only keeps the space from emptying completely. He exhales and rests his hands flat once more. The paper does not move. The pencil stays where it is. He does not reach for it yet. Continuation feels possible. Nothing more than that. The paper bends slightly as his fingers tighten around its edge. A shallow crease forms where he does not intend one. He notices it and loosens his grip, smoothing the page back down with the side of his hand. The room stays still. Nothing reacts to the small mistake. He exhales, short and controlled, and feels the air leave his chest without effort. The sound is quiet, barely present. He listens to it anyway, then to the silence that follows. The space around him does not press in. It simply remains. The understanding arrives without force. What has happened is finished. At least for him. The realization does not come with relief. It settles the way weight settles when something is set down and not picked up again. He keeps his eyes on the page, letting the thought sit where it lands. Distance has changed things. What once felt firm now feels thin, almost transparent. He recognizes the shift as he traces a line already written, following the words with his eyes, but not his finger. The steadiness he carried before does not return when he looks for it. He becomes aware that much of what held him upright before came from habit, from routine, from knowing how to act when action was required. He sees now that it was something worn, something assumed for as long as it was needed. The paper creases again as his thumb presses into it, then stops. The roll does not fit anymore. He does not struggle with that. He simply notices it. His shoulders drop slightly, the movement small but final. He allows them to stay where they fall. The room remains unchanged. No sound interrupts the moment. He swallows once and feels the motion pass through his throat, then disappear. The physical action grounds the thought, keeps it from drifting too far inward. He does not feel exposed so much as unadorned. There is no urge to rebuild what has thinned. He lets the recognition stand without explanation. His hand rests flat against the paper now, fingers spread, holding nothing. The stillness holds. The words on the page do not ask to be revised. He accepts what he sees in them and in himself, without correction. The pencil stops in the middle of the line. The tip rests against the paper, leaving a darker mark where it pauses. He notices the stillness in his hand before he notices the word itself. His fingers hold their position, neither tightening nor letting go. He looks at what he has written. The word sits there plainly. It does not rise off the page. It does not echo. He does not react to it right away. His breathing continues, slow and even, and the room remains quiet around him. The pause stretches. He lifts the pencil slightly, just enough to break contact, and holds it above the paper. The silence feels heavy, but manageable, like something meant to be carried for a short distance. He does not rush to fill it. The word does not alarm him. He waits for that response and finds it does not come. Instead, the word feels settled, accurate in a way that does not require emphasis. He presses his lips together briefly, then relaxes them again. The pencil remains suspended. He considers briefly whether to change it. The thought appears, pauses, and fades. There is no need to soften it or replace it. The page does not demand improvement. He lowers the pencil and continues the line without adjusting what has already been written. The motion of his hand is slower now. Each letter forms carefully, without urgency. He feels the slight drag of the graphite against the paper and allows it. The sound is faint, controlled, and then it stops again when he reaches the end of the sentence. He sets the pencil down across the page and leaves it there. His hand rests beside it, open. The silence deepens, not because anything has changed, but because nothing has. He feels the weight of it settle into the space. Weakness remains where it is, unremarked and unchallenged. He does not perform around it. He does not justify it. He simply allows it to exist. His shoulders ease back against the cot, and he exhales once, quietly. The room stays still. The paper lies flat. The word remains on the page, unchanged. He sits with it, attentive, but not unsettled, letting the moment hold without correction. The letter ends where it ends. There is no final sentence added to round it off. He reads the last line once, then does not read it again. The pencil remains where he left it, untouched. He lifts the paper with both hands, careful not to tear it, and feels the slight stiffness along the edges. He folds the paper once, slowly, aligning the corners by sight and then by touch. The crease forms under his thumbs with a faint resistance. He presses it down, smoothing it flat. The motion is deliberate, unhurried. He folds it again, smaller this time, the paper responding with a soft sound as it settles into its new shape. The fabric of the blanket rustles as he shifts his hands back toward his body. The sound is brief, contained. He places the folded letter beside him, close enough to feel its presence without touching it. It rests there, light and still. He waits for a change in himself that does not come. There is no release, no easing in his chest. The act of writing feels finished, but nothing else moves with it. He notices this without disappointment. Completion stands on its own. His hand returns to rest against the blanket, fingers relaxed. The weight of his arm settles back into the cot. He becomes aware again of the familiar pressure beneath him, the steady support that has not shifted throughout the writing. The letter waits where he left it. It does not call for attention. It does not promise anything. It simply exists now, separate from him but nearby. He does not reach for it again. He draws in a breath and lets it out, slow and even. The room sounds return to the edges of his awareness. Nothing marks the moment as finished except the absence of movement. He accepts that and remains still. The quiet feels complete, in a way that does not suggest an ending. He lies there, hands resting, the letter folded and waiting beside him, sharing the same pause. The light remains dim, unchanged from before. It rests against the canvas overhead without shifting, offering no signal that rest should come. He closes his eyes briefly, then opens them again. The darkness behind his eyelids feels no different from the space above him. He leaves his eyes open. His breathing stays slow. He listens to it move in and out, steady and contained. Each breath completes itself without effort. He waits to feel sleep take hold somewhere in the rhythm. But nothing changes. The breath continues, one after another, unmarked. Distant sounds reach him again. A footstep far off. A low voice that begins and ends without shape. The faint clink of something being set down. He does not follow any of it. The sounds drift through and pass on their own. He remains where he is. A thought appears and stays. It does not hurry. It does not sharpen. It lingers at the edge of his awareness, then slides aside without being replaced. Another takes its place, softer, less defined. He notices the pattern without engaging it. He shifts his head slightly on the pillow, adjusting to the firmness beneath his neck. The movement is small but precise. When he settles again, the position feels no better or worse than before. He leaves it as it is. Nothing urges him forward. There is no task waiting, no instruction forming. At the same time, nothing pulls him back into what has already passed. The space between feels suspended, held open without direction. He stays inside it. His chest rises and falls. The motion feels mechanical now, reliable but detached. He listens to the air leave his body and waits for the next breath to return. When it does, he accepts it without comment. The dim light continues to hold. The distant sounds thin out, then return in the same muted way. He remains awake, not resisting sleep, not moving toward it either. The stillness surrounds him without offering rest. He lies there, attentive and quiet, suspended between motion and release. The moment does not resolve itself, it simply continues. The surroundings have not changed. The ceiling still hangs above him in the same uneven way. The light remains dim, settled into the fabric and seams. He looks at it again, briefly, then lets his gaze soften without fixing on any one point. The room holds its shape. His body stays at rest. The blanket lies where it was placed, its weight familiar now. His arms rest along his sides, hands open, fingers loose. He presses his heels lightly into the cot once, then releases them. The surface answers and then goes still again. The air is quiet. It moves only when he breathes. Each inhale comes slowly. Each exhale leaves just as quietly. He listens to the sound for a moment, then stops listening and lets it continue on its own. The rhythm does not change. He is aware of himself as present, not in a way that feels solid or assured, just in the simple fact of occupying the space. He remains here on the cot, where he has been for some time now, alive, tired, uncertain. The awareness does not ask to be shaped into anything more. No lesson gathers itself. He does not search for one. His mind touches the edges of the moment and returns without carrying anything back. There is no sense of improvement, no return of steadiness. The absence of those things feels noticeable, but not surprising. He swallows once and feels the movement pass through him. The small action brings his attention back to his body again, to its weight and outline. The fatigue sits deep and even. He does not resist it. He lets it stay. The room continues without interruption. No one approaches. No voice cuts through the quiet. The space remains shared but distant, filled with other presences he does not see. He acknowledges them only as part of the air, part of the stillness. What remains is simple. He is still here. The fact stands on its own, without meaning attached. He does not add to it. He does not take anything away. He remains lying where he is, breathing, aware, unchanged. The quiet air rests around him. His body stays at rest. The surroundings remain as they were. He holds to the moment without resolving it. The sounds thin out until they are no longer distinguishable. What remains is not quiet all at once, but a gradual falling away. A distant movement fades. A breath nearby evens out and disappears into the room. He listens, then realizes there is nothing left to follow. Stillness takes hold without effort. His body does not shift to meet it. The cot supports him as it has all along. The blanket rests against his chest and legs unchanged. He notices the lack of motion more than the presence of anything else. Darkness settles into the space, not sudden, not complete, but sufficient. The dim light no longer draws his attention. His eyes remain open for a moment, then soften. He does not close them fully. He lets the dark exist, without naming it. Nothing asks to be explained. No thought forms that would tie the moment together. He does not attempt to collect what has passed or arrange it into meaning. The absence of conclusion feels appropriate. He allows it to remain that way. His breathing continues, slow and shallow, barely disturbing the air. He feels it in his chest. then less clearly, then not at all. The rhythm persists whether he attends to it or not. He lets it go. The night continues without announcement. Time moves, but he does not measure it. There is no marker to suggest where one moment ends and another begins. The quiet stretches, intact and undisturbed. What remains is held, not resolved. The memory stays close, without shape or demand. He accepts the incompleteness without resistance. His body stays still. The darkness stays where it is. The silence remains.